"What do you think you're doing here?" Mrs. Peterson, the manager, yelled, casting a disdainful glance at the elderly Mr. Smith amidst the luxury cars of the dealership. The twinkle in the old man's eyes was quickly replaced by an expression of surprise and dismay. "Maybe you've gotten lost. This is a luxury car dealership, not a homeless shelter," she said, heightening the humiliation. Other customers and employees watched the scene with curious and judgmental looks. The elderly man, nervously trying to maintain his composure, murmured, "Did I do something wrong? I just wanted to take a look at the cars. I didn't mean to bother anyone." Mrs. Peterson laughed sarcastically, cutting off any attempt at explanation from the elderly man. "Take a look? Look around you. Do you really think you belong here? Your presence here is inappropriate and offensive." The manager's cruel words cut like knives, leaving Mr. Smith speechless. He tried to articulate a response, but the manager continued the humiliation, belittling his modest appearance and insinuating that he had no place in that refined environment. "I will not allow people like him to tarnish the reputation of this establishment. Security, remove him immediately," Mrs. Peterson ordered, pointing to the exit with abrupt gestures. "We'll go back in time to find out how it all started, but before that, don't forget to like and follow the channel for new exciting stories." In the bustling heart of the city, amidst the frenzy of the streets, stood a gleaming luxury car dealership. Its imposing glass doors welcomed customers with a seductive invitation to enter the world of refinement and sophistication. There, each vehicle gleamed like a jewel on wheels, whispering promises of prestige and success. It was there, in that environment of opulence and modernity, that an 80-year-old man gazed admirably through the windows. His eyes, full of memories and emotions, contemplated the gleaming automobiles with a mixture of admiration and nostalgia. To him, those machines were not just luxury objects, but symbols of a life. While customers hurried past him, immersed in their own realities, the man remained motionless, lost in thought. With each sigh, an untold story unfolded before his weary eyes. The atmosphere in the luxury dealership was heavy with the scent of opulence, a place where gleaming cars whispered promises of prestige and status. Amidst the polished floors and designer suits, the elderly man walked through the door, his clothes worn but his gaze steady. Instantly, all eyes turned to him, judging him solely by his appearance. He walked slowly, his steps marked by a determination that defied time. Every line on his face told a story, a secret kept in the wrinkles of experience. His eyes, though weary, remained alive, shining with the curiosity of one who still sees beauty in the world. He dressed simply, in clothes that reflected a life of humility and hard work. A worn sweater, with loose threads dancing in the wind, was his shield against the biting cold that permeated the streets. Trousers worn by time, and shoes that witnessed every step taken along the journey. His hair, now dyed white as snow, crowned his head like a halo of wisdom. Despite his modest appearance, his eyes found enchantment in the luxurious cars on display. Every detail of the vehicles sparked an interest, a spark of admiration that was not extinguished by the passing years. There, amidst the hustle and bustle of the city, he was a solitary figure, a pilgrim in search of something more. And while others hurried by, he lingered in front of the cars, absorbing the essence of luxury and elegance with silent reverence. For even surrounded by the simplicity of his life, he knew how to appreciate the beauty that the world had to offer. And in that moment, before the imposing gleam of the cars, he found inspiration to continue his journey with determination and hope in his heart. The salesmen, accustomed to dealing with the elite, averted their gaze, as if the man were a fleeting shadow. Murmurs rose among the customers, as if he were an intruder in a world that was not his own. Why was he there? What was he seeking? Questions hung in the air, feeding rumors and conjectures. The man's presence seemed to clash with that environment of sophistication and wealth, unsettling those present. Like a stranger in a foreign land, he found himself surrounded by the chill of others' judgment, an invisible barrier that further separated him from that gleaming world. To those who roamed the shop, he was an intruder, a strange and unwanted element in that sanctuary of luxury. Seconds stretched out as if they were hours, creating a tense atmosphere in the room. And at the climax of this moment, the manager reached the old man, her expression revealing secrets that promised to alter the course of this engaging story. People watched each moment attentively, eager to discover what would happen in this encounter between the manager and the elderly gentleman, where destinies converged on a stage of luxury and intertwined emotions. With a cold, hard look, the manager directed her attention to the elderly man without ceremony, abruptly questioning his presence in the luxurious car dealership. The old man felt his confidence waver in the face of that ruthless gaze, as the manager exposed him before everyone, completely ignoring his feelings. The cruel words echoed through the room, deeply hurting him, without giving him space to defend himself. It was as if a sudden storm had descended on the sunny day. Mr. Smith, now vulnerable before the manager's relentless harshness, found himself stripped of his dignity, torn apart by the sharp edge of her words. The silence that followed the humiliation was deafening, as the old man struggled to regain his breath and balance amidst the whirlwind of emotions consuming him. As employees and customers witnessed that moment of vulnerability, their own emotions were taken on a roller coaster of compassion and indignation. Mr. Smith's fate now hung by a thread, while the manager, determined in her stance, awaited his reaction as if it were a crucial piece in a game of power and pride. What did fate have in store for the elderly man facing this unexpected challenge? Every word Mr. Smith tried to articulate seemed to disappear into the void, as if they were mere sighs lost in the air. "Please, I just wanted to take a look at the cars," he whispered, his trembling voice filled with palpable anguish, desperately seeking a glimmer of compassion. However, his pleas were ignored, relegated to the silence that hung among those present. The manager, with gestures of disdain, ordered his expulsion as if he were an inconvenience to be discarded. But Mr. Smith, standing firm in his conviction, resisted. I have the right to be here. All of this is mine too," he declared, his words echoing through the showroom with surprising determination. However, his justifications were met only with mocking laughter from the onlookers, who regarded him with disdainful looks, judging him as a madman daring to defy the established order. In this moment of conflict and confrontation, the audience found themselves torn between indignation at the blatant injustice and curiosity about the unfolding of this unexpected scene. What motivated Mr. Smith to resist so strongly? Was he truly an intruder, as the attendees suggested, or was there more to this story than meets the eye? The answer hung in the air, enveloping everyone in thrilling suspense, while Mr. Smith's fate hung in the balance of the judgment of those who did not interfere in the conflict. Mr. Smith's heart beat strongly in his chest, a symphony of anguish and indignation echoing in his ears. His dignity was torn apart by cruel words and the brutality of those around him. As the manager, impatient and determined, summoned the security guards, the weight of oppression seemed to crush him slowly. The imposing presence of the guards increased the pressure on him, like an anchor dragging him into the abyss of despair. With rough gestures and harsh words, the guards seized him, forcing him to leave the premises by force. Mr. Smith, helpless in the face of blatant injustice, cried out for justice, his words muffled by the weight of suffering. The sadness permeated every syllable that escaped his lips, like raindrops on a gloomy day. Amidst the whirlwind of emotions consuming him, his hands trembled and tears streamed down his wrinkles, silent witnesses to his pain. As he struggled to contain the tears threatening to flood his soul, a spark of compassion shone in the attentive eyes of a janitor who watched the scene. In her gaze, there was a glimmer of solidarity and empathy, like a candle lit in the darkness, offering a small ray of hope in the midst of the storm. Without a shadow of hesitation, she approached the elderly man, her steps echoing softly on the polished floor now on the sidewalk outside the store. With a gesture of kindness, she reached out to Mr. Smith, offering him her assistance amidst the chaos unfolding around him. Recognizing the vulnerability of the elderly man in the face of the imminent brutality of the security guards, she acted with determination, guiding him away. With a compassionate look, she led Mr. Smith through the labyrinthine corridors of the store, away from the judgmental gazes and threats looming over him like dark clouds on the horizon. Each step was an act of resistance against injustice, an offer of refuge amidst the turmoil. Finally, they reached a secret refuge in the depths of the store, a hidden room where peace reigned supreme. There, far from the adversities of the outside world, Mr. Smith found a safe haven for his weary soul, shielded by the comforting warmth of compassion and solidarity. As he caught his breath and found shelter and protection, the kind woman remained by his side. In that makeshift refuge, where the timid light filtered through the curtains, Mr. Smith finally allowed his tears to flow freely. The welcoming environment offered him a sanctuary of peace where he could pour out all the pains and frustrations he had endured. After some time, Mr. Smith managed to calm down, cradled by the comforting presence of the janitor. Feeling somewhat safer amidst that emotional storm, he turned to her with a look of gratitude and humility, acknowledging the essential role she had played in his life at that crucial moment. "Could you help me make a phone call?" he asked, his voice still trembling but filled with renewed determination. With a gentle and reassuring smile, the janitor promptly nodded, handing him the phone as a symbol of hope and connection to the outside world. There, in that unlikely place filled with compassion, a new journey began to unfold, marked by the strength of solidarity and the promise of a fresh start. With trembling hands, Mr. Smith held the phone firmly, feeling the weight of a lifetime of regrets and hopes placed on that call. Each dialed number was a fragile step connecting him to his son. When the call was answered on the other end of the line, he took a deep breath, gathering all the courage he had left. His words overflowed from his soul, interspersed with emotion that threatened to overwhelm him. With a trembling voice, he began to explain everything that had happened, pouring out his fears and anxieties, while desperately pleading for help and understanding. Amidst the whirlwind of emotions consuming him, he begged his son to come to his rescue, his words laden with urgency and sincerity. And in the background, the janitor's sympathetic voice echoed like a soft whisper of support, offering him comfort and solace in his time of need. With a trembling voice, burdened by the weight of the consequences to come, she whispered to Mr. Smith, her words echoing the care and urgency that inhabited her heart. "Lock the doors, and only leave when you're sure you're safe. Don't risk more than you already have." Each word was a thread of hope, a silent reminder that even in the darkest moments, the light of compassion still shone. Her final gaze, filled with compassion and promise, was a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that surrounded them as she stepped away, leaving him with his own uncertainties, but also with the certainty that he was not alone. As the janitor walked away, prepared to face the consequences of her benevolence, a surprise awaited her. Upon entering the main hall of the store, she found the store silent and completely closed, an unexpected scene that sent chills down her spine. Amidst the commotion, a crowd of employees gathered, their murmurs creating a symphony of tension and anticipation that hung in the air like a dense fog. Among them stood the imposing figure of the manager, the atmosphere remaining shrouded in an aura of tension and expectation. However, what surprised everyone the most was the sudden appearance of an elegantly dressed man, whose upright and confident posture exuded authority and influence. His eyes, sharp as knives, swept the room with an intensity that made everyone feel stripped of secrets. When his gaze met the janitor's, a shiver ran down her spine, leaving her unsettled in the face of the intensity of that moment. That unlikely meeting cast a shadow of uncertainty over the janitor's heart, enveloping her in a veil of apprehension and fear of what was to come. After all, in that unexpected encounter, the lines between the past and the future blurred, leaving everyone at the mercy of the unknown tides about their destinies. Surprise spread among the crowd as the janitor, stunned, grasped the magnitude of the situation. With her heart racing, she hurried to obey the elegant man's command, soon realizing that he was the owner of the luxurious store, leading Mr. Smith back to the room where a new chapter in the history of that luxury dealership was about to unfold. The door to the room creaked open softly, and all eyes turned to the imposing figure that entered, causing hearts to race in anticipation. Mr. Smith was known for his commanding presence, but at that moment, something different hung in the air, an aura of mystery surrounding his figure. Muted whispers echoed off the walls lined with dark wood as the attendees tried to decipher the reason for this unexpected visit. Tension was palpable, as if the very air was pregnant with secrets about to be revealed. With a solemn gesture, Mr. Smith stepped forward, his voice resonating through the room like distant thunder. His eyes swept the room, capturing everyone's attention as he prepared the ground for the bomb he was about to drop. And then came the revelation, as shocking as lightning on a clear day. With a tone of voice echoing with the authority of one who holds absolute power, he announced to the world that the humble elderly man, the one who had been cruelly expelled moments before, was none other than his father, the founder and original owner of the luxury car dealership. A deathly silence fell over the room, broken only by the muffled sound of hearts beating rapidly. The shock etched on the faces of those present was palpable, as if the ground had been ripped out from under their feet. Minds raced to assimilate the magnitude of the revelation, while Mr. Smith stood there, imposing as a marble statue, observing the impact of his words. It was a twist worthy of the best soap opera plots, a revelation that shook the foundations of that privileged community. As the dust of surprise settled, it became clear that this visit would not only change the course of the car dealership's history, but also the fate of all involved. Mr. Smith remained at the center of the stage, his commanding presence now laden with an aura of mystery and redemption. Those present swallowed hard, struggling to digest the truth that had just been revealed. The manager, who had previously emanated authority and determination, now seemed like a pale shadow in the face of reality's impact. Her eyes, once sparkling with confidence, now reflected a mixture of disbelief and remorse, as if every decision made in the past was being judged in an invisible court. The impact of the revelation reverberated through the room, echoing in the hearts of those who witnessed the unfolding of events. The manager, her face flushed with shame, found herself compelled to swallow her pride and offer sincere apologies, her tone heavy with remorse for her grave mistake. The salesman, with downcast eyes and somber expressions, acknowledged their share of blame in the situation, their minds immersed in a sea of regret and self-criticism. With a firm and warm voice, Mr. Smith and his son addressed the janitor, whose compassion and courage had touched their hearts, and announced her well-deserved promotion. Tears of gratitude filled the eyes of the humble woman, whose act of kindness had triggered a series of events that would change the course of things at that luxury dealership. In the face of reconciliation and redemption that hung in the air, everyone was reminded of the transformative power of compassion and truth, giving new meaning to the tumultuous journey they had faced. As events unfolded, a profound lesson echoed through the dealership's walls, penetrating the hearts of those who witnessed Mr. Smith's saga. It was a lesson about the deceptive nature of appearances and the importance of seeing beyond surfaces. The forgotten legacy of the founder emerged from the shadows, not only as the owner of the gleaming store, but also as an icon of humility and respect, whose presence would reverberate through the years. The manager, confronted with the magnitude of her mistakes, recognized the impossibility of her continued presence in an environment imbued with redemption and transformation. With a mixture of resignation and regret, she made the difficult decision to resign from her position, leaving behind wounded pride and making room for a new chapter in the dealership's history. Meanwhile, the janitor, now promoted to a position of trust, found herself facing an unexpected and promising destiny. With determination and gratitude, she embraced the opportunity to work alongside the owner's son, her heart overflowing with humility and hope for a future full of possibilities. Thus, as the sun set over the luxurious car dealership, a new era was about to begin, marked by the rediscovery of true value and the journey of growth and renewal.